So again, please enter a message in the chat if you can, just to record your presence and help us make better contact with you in the future. All right, it is 7:05 and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thanks for joining us tonight, and welcome back to another, albeit weird, season of socially distanced Highlandtown Community Association meetings. Let's hope we don't have to do this forever. So I want to just go over a quick ground rules for the meeting. As you may have noted, everyone that's in this meeting is force muted. The only people that are going to be unmuted for the duration of this meeting are Vanessa Bennett, Vice President, and myself, President Nick Curley. Excuse me. We will, Vanessa and I will work as a team to try and move this meeting along and moderate the content. Our goal tonight is to share information with you and welcome comments and engagement from the audience via the chat and selective unmuting. This meeting is budgeted for 90 minutes. I think we'd all be excited if it ended earlier. I'm not trying to rush anyone, but I would like to have an efficient meeting that is respectful of everyone's time. So, to that end, here's what the layout of the meeting tonight should look like. In a moment, I'm going to invite members of the HCA board to provide updates and insights about what they've been up to since the spring, and share with you any information that they feel like you need to know in an efficient and compact manner. And after that, we've got a couple of groups that we've invited to the meeting to share content. We've got some folks from BG&E that are here to follow up on and answer any questions regarding the issues in the community over the last several weeks with power outages. We've also got some folks from Parks and Rec and BDC who want community feedback about the renaming of a community park that's actually outside of our catchment area, but close enough to matter. So those are the two things we've got scheduled, and then we will invite any of our elected representatives or their representatives who are in attendance to briefly share focused updates that may be of interest to the community. After that, we will open up the floor to questions and comments from participants, and then we will call an end to the meeting. Before we do any of that, just a quick overview of our approach to these this digital meeting platform. We're kind of using training wheels tonight, so bear with us as we figure this out on the fly. But what we are basically looking at doing is coming up again with an efficient and hopefully accessible way for the community to engage in these meetings without being unsafe. Moving forward, what we're going to do is ask frequent presenters, guests, and our elected officials to preemptively create 2 to 3 minute video segments and share them with us so we can put together packages of content for presentation in these meetings that's kind of increasingly slick and informationally dense, again, being respectful of your time. And we will request that anyone who submits a video like that for us to play during these meetings also be present to answer any questions or concerns related to the content that we share on their behalf. And that will allow us to come up with like a maximally informative and useful meeting in the least amount of time. It will also give us the ability to save all of that content and host it on our website so that people who can't make the meeting or want to watch it in a different language have the ability to access that content moving forward. Anyway, that's the plan. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, put it in the chat. Otherwise, thanks for being here. And I would like to start by turning the meeting over to Vanessa prior to the rest of the board to hear updates from her. So Vanessa, please, anything you'd like to put out there, ask the group about, please do.
Sure. I've been working with Juan from Councilman Cohen's office about flyers for proper disposal of trash. There seems to be some issues with recycling being on hold, and some blocks are having issues with neighbors putting out trash properly. So once I get those flyers, they'll be posted on Facebook, and then I will get hard copies, and we will work to get those out. So if anybody wants them, you can look for the Facebook post and then just let us know, and we can drop some off in your mailbox if you want to distribute some of those on your block. Other than that, I think that's about it.
Outstanding. Thanks, Vanessa. Next, I believe we'd like to hear from Mike Dorsey. who I believe has some updates for us from the treasurer role, and also some updates from perhaps the garden. Mike, would you be interested in sharing some updates?
Sure. Our general account balance is $14,406. We haven't spent things that are very outside of the normal. We are obviously getting involved in a Zoom subscription. Sorry, my wife's messing with me. A Zoom subscription that's going to be helpful in making sure that we have electronic access and we're able to hold these meetings virtually. We've done a lot of good fundraising to enhance the garden. We're still waiting on a $5,000 request from the Baltimore Community Foundation, but we spent through the JHU Award and the France Merrick Award, which was $16,000 combined. And then everything that's been great and excellent assistance with partnership from Southeast CDC. It was around $25,000 combined between Healthy Neighborhoods and Bernie. So the garden is undergoing a new and improved section. We took down first 130 or so linear feet of raised concrete platform and are working now. It's a little bit on a pause while we wait for this next pot of money to put down some topsoil and close up the new earth that's been exposed but has a tremendous amount of minor hazard like broken glass all through it. And then with the new soil and plants and renewed equipment, we can make sure that it's a more inviting and open place for the entire community, and we'll erect a sign on the corner of Conkling and Lombard. That's again a project that's been in the works for a while, but now we're coming to fruition as we've gotten the construction, or in some cases deconstruction dollars, to do phase one of the improvement of the master plan for the garden. Any questions on what I've covered in general? I guess you put them in the box. Sorry, I'm used to saying any questions and people being around. Not awkward. Okay, I'm going to put my information on here on the chat box. So if anyone has questions about the garden or what our general process is over there, please don't hesitate to reach out and follow up with me. And I'm always happy to talk to everybody.
Mike, while you're on, if I can just ask you, like, sorry if I missed it, but I know over the summer when we were not having regular HCA meetings that you did a bunch of good work completing and reconciling our financial statements.
Oh, yeah.
And so all of our annual reports, historical annual reports, including the most recent one, have been updated and posted to the website, right?
Yep, the last 3 years have been posted and put on the website. This year, 2020, it's not going to be hard when we get to the end of the calendar year. So our accounting year is identical to the calendar year. And so as December closes, we close out our calendar year. And so we make sure that we put out an annual financial report that reflects all of the transactions in all of our bank accounts across the entire year. And so 2017, 2018, and 2019 had all been updated, checked, and posted since we went down for COVID. And 2020, according to our bylaws, we have 90 days at the end of the calendar year. 2020 is going to be pretty easy because we haven't had a lot of activity. So you're aware.
Outstanding. So great job, Mike. Thanks for that. And thanks for getting those documents squared away. I really appreciate it. And I know a lot of the community was just like really excited about being able to review all these financial documents. And now that I can. So the important thing is that we're compliant, and you did a great job with that. So thanks. And I guess moving forward, anyone interested in seeing updated financial records from the HCA can find them on our website. I know John's got them well organized, and it's looking good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to add, Mike?
I love you guys, all of you.
Thanks, Mike. I just got a warm, fuzzy feeling. All right, so looking at the chat, it looks like Brian Sweeney wants to jump in with some updates and comments. So let's move on to Brian.
Hi guys, I have just a couple things. Some of you may know that in the late winter, I started working on a project to get some funding and some plans together for cafe lights in the area. Can you hear me? Because I'm not seeing my face pop up. So I have got a rough budget put together for lights. I'm sorry I did kind of drop the ball during the early stages of the COVID crisis, because I just thought, well, we'll get back to this, and it's taken me a little bit. But anyway, I do have some rough information together as far as putting it together. I looked at an installation on North Milton Street the other day, which was very well done, and actually they've managed to address some of the things I wasn't sure how to address. So my next step is to try to arrange some funding. I have been reaching out to the Baltimore Community Foundation to see if there's some money available and how we go about asking for it when every installation is going to be different. It's kind of hard to put together a budget for something when there's a lot of variables for every installation. So I'm seeking a little guidance on that. So two things. One, you can kind of keep your ear to the ground for that and see what happens. And the other thing is, if anybody wants to just, pony up and do it for themselves, I've got some really good notes and I would love to be part of it. I'm actually working with my neighbor to see if we can't pull something together here with or without grant money to do something on my corner, which would be really cool. So if anybody wants anything, if anybody wants some of that information, I will post my email here. Please put the words cafe lights in the header so that it jumps out at me. But I'll be looking into that, so and looking for some input. Second thing, there's been a lot more dumping and trash issues within the neighborhood. And as most of you probably know, it's been a pet peeve of mine for literally 4 years. We did start to get a little bit of traction with Zeke Cohen's office, and there was his office and Josh was running a small group of people who were also upset about trash and what we were going to do about it, and try to find some solutions and to find a way forward. I indicated to Zeke a few weeks ago that I intend to find a way to restart that particular task force, and we're not looking to just complain about trash and dumping and the other problems in the neighborhood. We're looking for solutions. We're looking for a way to reach out to other cities to find out things that have worked in these other areas so that we have some way to move forward with it. So if anybody would like to contribute to that conversation as well. Again, we're looking for solutions. We're not just looking to complain. There's lots to complain about. We're looking for solutions. My email will be posted in this thread, and I will put a note, both cafe lights and trash task force in there. And if anybody wants to email me any information on that and participate in both of those things, I'll set up separate email lists for both groups and try to build something. And my intention with this task force is to start out with people in the Southeast Baltimore, Southeast District, where, our neighbors, Canton, Patterson Park neighborhood, Brewers Hill, and that kind of thing, because I need it to be manageable. I need to be manageable. So this is largely going to fall within District 1 and District 2 initially. I do intend to ask everybody who is part of the conversation to reach out to anybody that they choose citywide and try to develop a larger network, because this is not just our problem. This is a much larger problem. And when we reach that point, then we'll try to find a way to manage it. But I want it to start out, at least for our core people, to be within the Southeast. So that's kind of the short term and the long term goals with it. So my email address will be up here in just a minute, and thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it. So just a super quick recap. If you're interested in cafe lighting, email Brian Sweeney with the words cafe lighting in the subject message. And if you're interested in the trash committee / task force, email Brian specifying that you want to follow up or participate in the trash. Outstanding. Moving forward, Kirk Wiggins has some updates for us. Kirk, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Am I good? Yeah. All right. Good. I've got my secretary here helping me. Hi guys. Great news from Vanessa. Great news from Mike. Great news from Brian. I just wanted to touch base on. A lot of people have been asking me about the building that's going up on Bank Street. I spoke to them today. They're breaking ground. Well, they're going to start everything in October. So just, letting everybody, filling everybody in on with that. That's all I know. And as far as, I've been working with the HCA, Highlandtown Business Association, and the South CDC, and we're trying to, all work together and try to clean up Eastern Avenue the best that we can with what resources we have at this moment. And I really ask you guys to please use these merchants up there in Highlandtown when you can. They're struggling just like every business is out there, and they need our help. Just if you go in there and buy even a $2 or something or whatever you can do to help our businesses out, because they're helping us out as much as we're trying to help them. And I just want to get that past that, these businesses up there, I know that they need our help. And all I can ask is if you could just maybe, instead of going to Canton one night, just maybe go up to Highlandtown and use our restaurants, or instead of going to Walmart, maybe pop in there and see what these places might have. That's all I really have to say, but I think we're all working hard, and I'm sorry that we're dealing with this COVID at this time, but I will also put my email and information out there for anybody who wants to find out what's going on. But I do know that, your merchants up there, they need us as a community, and as a community, we should try to give back as best as we can. So I really implore you to please go up there and try to use your businesses and these businesses that are struggling. It's happy to see everybody, and I'm sorry that we're going through this COVID, but like Mike said, it's so unreal. But thank you so much, Nick.
Outstanding. Thanks, Kirk. Really appreciate it. And my dogs approve also.
Can they hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
They love your mustache.
They can.
All right. Very well done. Other members of the HCA board, can you type in a message in the comments if you would like to go next, or unmute and please begin? All right, so I'm not seeing any other comments from HCA board members. I'm gonna have one more call for comments from the board, and then we will move on to two of our invited guests. Okay, so moving on to our invited guests, we're going to invite BGE to step up first. If you'll bear with me for just a moment, I'm going to share my screen and present a super quick recap. All right, so last week we had a community call with BG&E that was intended to address some outstanding concerns with frequent power outages throughout the neighborhood. And so BG&E attended, and they shared the screen that you're seeing now, showing phase 1 through 3 of some infrastructure replacement that was started over on Haven Street and flowed from east to west across the neighborhood, that was intended to switch I'm not an electrical guy, so bear with me. A 4,000 kilovolt system to a 13,000 kilovolt system, I believe. Anyway, the long and the short of it is that BG&E engaged with us, answered a bunch of community questions, has made an effort to connect with individual homeowners experiencing problems with their electricity, sponsored a food distribution in partnership with Maryland Food Bank at Breath of God Lutheran Church last week, and other things. So first and foremost, it is my understanding that no additional power outages have occurred after they were supposed to have stopped. And I have not heard ongoing complaints via any of the channels of communication we are monitoring. So what I would like to do is invite those in attendance to share any new questions or concerns that they feel like were not addressed or were not conclusively resolved in last week's meeting. The intent of having BG&E here on the call tonight is not to relitigate the problems we discussed last week. It's to cover new ground. So I'm going to stop the screen sharing and we're going to go to chat and we're going to see if we have any new questions pop up from BG&E. In the meantime, I'm asking Allison from BG&E and Emmanuel, if I can find him, to unmute so they can be ready to answer any questions. I'm sorry, Vanessa. You want to lead this off?
Yeah, general question, just be where are we with stage 2? The trucks we had a lot of trucks in the neighborhood and now they are not here. So just a general update of where we are, where you guys are with the progress and a timeline, if you have a more specific timeline of kind of for the next stage, and just a general update of what's going on would be really helpful. So.
Yeah. Hi, this is Allison Black. I'm going to ask that Scott Rose is also unmuted and Fabiola from BG is also unmuted, and they will be able to take the lead on answering your questions. Thank you.
Hey, this is Scott. It looks like I am unmuted, so I hope everyone can hear me all right. But I will try to answer the questions that I remember from you, Vanessa, and I did type some in the chat as well. But in terms of referencing that screenshot, that map, we did complete phase 2, which was probably when, you know, there were. Yeah, okay, so back to the screen share. We did complete phase 2, I think it was Sunday of last week. So probably around that time is when you would have stopped seeing a heavy BGE presence in terms of construction crews working on that phase of the project. In terms of phase 3, we have a completion date of October the 9th. And that's going to look, you know, much like phase 1 and phase 2 in terms of, you know, construction presence, but just in a more kind of isolated area since it doesn't span, you know, as many city blocks. And similarly to phase 1 and phase 2, we will probably at some time around the first week of October have a planned outage like we did for phase 1 and phase 2 for those customers affected by phase 3 that will last probably between, you know, 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. just to cut over onto the new replaced cable for phase 3. So I'm not sure exactly what day that will be. At this point, but you know, we're targeting, you know, sometime in the first week of October. So, you know, what's that? Maybe 2 weeks from now or so. But I can share, and we will share and communicate that exact date when we have it, you know, in advance. It's not going to be. It's not going to be a day of phone call, though we may do phone communication as well. But we'll know a week or so before that planned outage actually occurs, and we'll, you know, communicate through the proper channels. The other thing I'll mention just in terms of work that we're still doing or will continue to do in the area. So of course we anticipate, these 3 phases of cable replacement to really address the majority of the problems, but we're also looking outside of this map to the ancillary feeders and doing some reliability history and analysis there. So that just took place. And we don't have, or we didn't see any major work that needed to be done at this time, but there were some kind of small, maybe there's a couple of trees that need to be trimmed, or maybe there was a piece of animal protection that we're going to put up. So we did identify some work in that regard, and we're going to continue to perform inspections in the area on a bi-weekly basis with our inspector until we see a marked trend of good reliability. The last thing that I'll mention is, in addition to those visual inspections, we installed some sets of equipment in the neighborhood. One is actually at a pole on Haven Street, and then the other looks like a pole right around Bank Street. And so to be able to fully leverage what that piece of equipment does, it collects data for us, and then we download the data from that piece of equipment and do some further analysis on the back end to just make sure everything is running correctly. If it's not, we can make tweaks to our configuration. So we will be downloading that data probably twice a week, probably Tuesdays and Fridays for the next, couple weeks until we feel like we're in a comfortable position in terms of gathering enough data. So that's a pretty quick process. It usually only takes an hour, but if you see a BGE truck come up for an hour, fill in with a pole, that could very well be it. And I believe that's probably the most of the presence from BGE that you'll see there until we actually begin that phase 3 replacement.
Thanks, Scott. Quick question from the chat. It looks like Amanda wants to know, can you clarify what the blue sections are that say overhead lines? Is there work being done with those? Is that there for reference purposes, or is there overhead line work being done in this diagram?
Yeah, sure. So correct. Yeah. So the dashed lines essentially represent underground lines. So those are the kind of cables that run through the conduit systems that you access through the manholes and so on and so forth. And then the solid lines, as labeled, are overhead sections. And I really think more so for reference. So this gives you an idea of which overhead sections are directly affected by the underground section. So for example, if we had a failure like we did on the red underground cable, but there was a blue solid overhead section off of it, that section would also be affected. So what we're saying is, by replacing the underground section, we're also providing benefit to those customers who may be fed overhead through this same map here. There are, though, however, I think maybe 1 or 2 of these overhead sections, and I think it's I'll have to go back and confirm, but I think it's the one off of the green phase 2, kind of where you see that art gallery on the left-hand side, where we did install an animal deterrent, because in the past there was an outage that we saw that was caused by probably a squirrel or some sort of wildlife that got into the equipment. So it's not impossible that as we continue to do inspections in the area, we find small maintenance type work on the overhead sections. And so really that gives you an idea of where they are and what we may be inspecting moving forward.
Great, thanks, Scott. Vanessa, do you want to ask any follow-up questions, or is there anything else? I'm not sure if we...
I have one more question. So it was mentioned earlier that we have a new apartment building that they're breaking ground on in October, and I'm not sure what their timeline is. Is it set up now that we're not going to lose power with the additional apartments and the usage with that apartment building going up?
Yeah, so I'm not personally familiar with that structure, so I can take that back and figure out who is looking into that specific issue. But I can talk about the process generally and how we handle things like that. So any new commercial building, particularly one of that size, is going to go through a new business process with us, because of course, you know, they're going to need power and probably gas. So part of that application process for that building is to let us know what their load and their capacity is going to be. And then what we do with that information is, you know, basically kind of sanity check it, make sure it sounds right, and then plug it into our models to determine if that's going to overload systems anywhere, if that's going to require any upgraded infrastructure. If it does require upgraded infrastructure, that goes into a fee structure that the new customer, you know, will have to work out with us, all part of, you know, the tariff, and all regulated by the tariff. But essentially, an investigation and analysis will be done to make sure that either one, there won't be any negative effects to the system by bringing that customer on, or if there are, there will be upgraded infrastructure that needs to be put in place, and then that cost will be, you know, worked out per tariff with the customer. So one way or another, it will not affect, you know, community reliability. It could possibly affect, you know, the cost or the timeline for the project itself, but not for the rest of the customers on the feeder.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just so what I can do is, I presume, I'm not sure how far along that project is, but there probably is an application into BGE already, or there may be soon. And I can coordinate with the group responsible, the new business group responsible, just to get more information generally that we could maybe respond back to you with, or just kind of confirm where we are. Is there I don't know if you have a specific address or maybe just a street, and I can go from there.
Hey, Scott, this is Fabiola with External Affairs. Ms. Bennett, I can definitely serve as the liaison between HCA and that project if you need more information. I'll be willing to go on and reach out internally and provide those updates to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Great idea. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, Scott and Fabiola. So I guess reaching out to the room, Vanessa, any other questions from you?
No, I don't have anything else, and I don't see any other questions in the chat.
All right, so I'm going to make another call to the chat for questions, comments, concerns for the team from BGE. If nothing comes up in the next 30 seconds or so, I'd like to thank the entire team from BG&E for agreeing to be on the call tonight and address concerns. If anything doesn't come up in the next few seconds, just a reminder that we've got our entire meeting with BG&E posted to the HCA website from last week, that is full of information as well as contact information for Scott Rhodes, who spoke just a moment ago, as well as Emmanuel and Fabiola and Allison and the rest of the team. All right, so one question from John Eddy. Given that phase 3 is not completed, are there still members of community experiencing outages? Scott, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can take that, absolutely. So to our knowledge, and I think I mentioned at the meeting last week or whenever it was held, we have custom alerts set up. If anything in Highlandtown goes out, it should hit my inbox almost immediately. I have not seen any outages on this feeder. since we began phase one. Of course, knocking on wood, and we want to keep that streak going, but I have not seen or heard of any customer outages on the feeders that we've done work since we began work. So if they do occur, they will come to me immediately, and we'll certainly address them. In terms of phase three specifically, we really didn't see a lot of issues on the phase three. When we did our research, it was really phase one and phase two were really kind of the heavy violators, if you will. But we decided phase three was worthwhile to do, to be proactive and really just strengthen the system in that area. So that is part of the reason why it's on a little bit different of a timeline than phase one and phase two. We didn't necessarily think it was as urgent to replace right away, and to take a little bit more time with it, we didn't view as that big of a risk to further outages.
Great. Scott, Fabiola, Allison, Emmanuel, thanks for all being here. We don't have any other questions in the chat, and I don't want to hold you. So I'd like to thank you again for engaging with us. I appreciate your presence and willingness to share information. Everyone, if you have follow-up questions for Scott, again, his contact information is available on the HCA website and the video recordings, or we all have it, so just reach out to us. Otherwise, BG&E team, if you'd like to take off, again, we thank you for being here tonight, and please continue to communicate with us moving forward, and we'll figure this out together, okay?
Looking forward.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great night.
You too.
All right, everyone, moving on. Our next group of speakers or speaker tonight is, I got kind of an interesting call from Baltimore City Parks and Recreation the other day. It turns out that, So it turns out that there is a pocket park up on Janney Street, just south of the U-Haul building on Route 40. And it is entirely outside of the catchment area for the Highlandtown Community Association, or even the Baltimore Highlands, which we annexed a couple of years ago in the absence of a community association in that part of town. So we are apparently the closest functioning community association to this park, which BDC and it looks like Pompeian and Olive Oil have spent some resources to spruce up, and they're interested in renaming the park. So I'm going to screen share a couple photos and then see if Lindsay or anyone from BDC is available to unmute. But I'm just going to go through. So basically, this park has been spruced up, and they want to rename it from Janney Street Park to Olive Branch Park. And and they've asked us to take a vote on that. Looks like some bioretention there.
We lost your screen, Nick.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks.
Now we can't.
Oh yeah, because I'm trying to go through like this whole list of photos, and they're not set up to like do a slideshow, so I've got to unshare and reshare between them. Sorry, I've got to learn how to do that better. But so let's go to the chat if we can, and see, do we have Lindsay or anyone else here from BDC or Pompeian? If so, please make a comment so I can invite you to speak. Hey, Micah.
Hey there. I'd like to give some context on how we've gotten to this place and why we reached out to your organization to get some input. In 2015, we began a process prompted by Pompeian reaching out to BDC directly, requesting assistance with their pending expansion. Pompeian wanted to purchase the existing Janney Street Park, which is a large piece of land immediately south of their facility located on Pulaski Highway. BDC worked with Pompeian to develop the land disposition agreement, which is the agreement between the city and the developer to determine what they had to do and what the city was willing to do. And that also included the fact that Pompeian would both pay fair market value for Janney Street Park and that they would create a replacement park, which is the pocket park that you just showed, as actually precedent to settlement. The contractor completed the pocket park during the first half of 2020. It has since been handed over to Rec and Parks for maintenance and programming. And basically, Pompeian has suggested the name for the park to be Olive Branch Park. So we got, BCRP actually designed the park initially. Kimley Horn was the landscape architect that finalized those drawings. Pompeian then put them out for bid. And like I said, the construction was completed during the first half of the year. Are there any questions about this at this time?
All right, so I'm trying to figure out how to do a poll, and obviously I'm not going to figure out in the next 5 seconds. So thanks for sharing that information. That's really cool. And Brian Sweeney indicated in the chat that it was something he was involved with a couple of years ago, and he remembers the conversation. So he's definitely supportive of that name change. So we've got about 30 people in the chat. I'm interested, unless anyone has, okay, so we've got some questions. Deli, who's responsible for the other side of the park?
So the park itself sits in a newly created lot of land that was formed from the closure of the 4200 block of East Fairmount. So if you're familiar with this area, the park entrance on the south side emptied onto the 4200 block of East Fairmount Avenue. On the other side of the street was the large parking lot of the loading dock. So now the loading dock's north side empties out almost right onto Janney Street. Because Janney Street comes down and used to empty right into the loading dock's parking lot. And then there was room on Fairmount Avenue to park your vehicle or turn around, what have you. So that section of Fairmount has been closed, and that's where the park actually exists now. There is a stormwater remediation site immediately north of this park, or there will be, as Pompeian moves forward with their expansion. And then, as you pointed out, there is some stormwater remediation actually on the park site also. But when you say who's responsible for the other side, I'm not sure what the other side is.
Deli, do you want to unmute and clarify that question or elucidate in the chat, please? Mike, I'm going to ask Deli again if she wants to flesh out that question. Yeah, so Deli says, is it okay if I send an email about it? Micah, are you willing to share your email address for follow-up purposes?
Already have, yep.
Outstanding. So Deli, you should have that in the chat if you want to grab his email address. If not, we can help you follow up offline. All right, let's see. From Natalie Wiggins, since it's located behind the 1 South Haven Street and an all awesome business located there, is there a plan to create a pathway from there to the park so that while adults are dining, kids can be on the playground?
Currently, there is no plan for that, and part of the reason why is that that actually cuts across a currently unutilized railroad track. So we would have to get permission from the owner of that piece of land that the railroad track occupies. And generally, the railroads they'll consider a right of entry for that purpose, but they will not consider anything that is going to be more permanent. So a pathway across the railroad bed would probably be met with great resistance.
Yeah, you'd think so. So let's see if we can try this fancy polling question. And let's give it 30 seconds to see what happens. And then we'll move on, Micah.
Thank you.
Oh, I feel like we live in the future, gang.
We do.
All right, we've got 17 of 27 have voted, and so with a simple majority, the park name change passes to the extent that we have the authority to authorize that. Thanks, everyone, for participating in our hastily assembled poll.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, Micah, you're good to go. And
all right, sir. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for being here. All right. Moving on, we had 2 invited guests and they have now both spoken. And so we will now move on into our like voices from the community phase of this meeting. To that end, I'm hopeful that we have some representatives from our elected officials. Additionally, I know Amanda Smith-Peters is in the audience. So let's see if we can start with Amanda, and then I'd like to move on to Deli, and after that, we'll see who's next via chat. So Amanda, would you give us a 2 to 3 minute update on what Amanda Smith-Peters has been up to?
Sure. So hi, everybody. I'm Amanda, your Highlandtown Main Street manager out of the Southeast CDC. We have been trying to figure out what to do moving forward with events for the fall. Most of our work over the past six months has been around business support, making sure that businesses had the resources, there were grant programs, and checking in with businesses. So that was sort of the goal. We're in the process of hopefully installing in the next couple of weeks some design for distancing installations. It will be focused, you've seen them in other areas around the city. If you're on Facebook, they have lots of people are doing they're closing streets or they're using parking spaces for parklets. Obviously, Eastern Avenue corridor is quite busy. So we don't have as much flexibility to close down Eastern Avenue but we are going to do a big campaign, a marketing campaign around safety around COVID. So you'll see some new signage. Part of that process is also going to help address that intersection right by the Vargas Bakery and Vargas Taqueria. So we've been working with some of the members on this team. They're on our Highlandtown Main Street design team to work on that. So those are some things we've been working on. So you'll see that roll out. If you have more questions, I'll drop my email in the chat. And then the other thing I just wanted to say about the fall is, one, there's actually an event happening this Sunday in along Eastern Avenue. So if you remember last year, they did the Parade of Latin Nations at the end of September. They are not doing a full parade this year. Obviously, groups of dancers cannot come out, but they are going to do a caravana, and it will be, I think it's around 2 to 4. It'll start in the same place right around Haven Street at Eastern Avenue, and it'll go down Eastern Avenue around the park, and then at the end of it, everyone will disperse. So if you want to check it out, if you want to participate, again, I'll email you and you can connect with Angelo. They are looking for vehicles, I think, to participate. I'm not sure how many local folks are gonna do that, but we'll see. I mean, everyone's trying to caravan out these days, so they just wanted to, I think, note that they didn't want to stop what they were doing, year to year. They want to have some presence with that event and say that they'll be back next year. So that's happening this Sunday. And then we are talking with the Creative Alliance and also our Art Walk partners to continue our art walks, to think about what's happening in October. Most of the businesses have said they do not want to, one business in particular has said they do not want to do trick-or-treating. We've also made a request into the city through the Main Street, the Baltimore Main Streets program, to find out if the city is going to actually cancel trick-or-treating or discourage it or encourage it. We're really not sure. I mean, Southeast Baltimore is a huge hotspot for trick-or-treating, so I'd like to get ahead of that as soon as it can. That's my cat Dot. I hope you enjoy her. So I'm trying to figure out, the businesses do not have as much distance. We can't create a cool slide pole from the top of a banister that candy slides down. You know, the doors are right there. So I don't think encouraging hundreds of kids to descend on Eastern Avenue and the shopping district at one time is a great idea. But we are going to be doing some virtual events where we do a photo contest, and we're working with Side A Photography again to figure out how to do those things virtually. So we're trying it out. You will still see our holiday tree go up at Christmas/winter holidays. We're still doing Small Business Saturday, but we're just trying to reconfigure all those events. So that's where we're at. I wish I had more details. They all will take place around the same time they did last year. But it's just slow. It's slow to put it together because just as you make the decisions, something changes and then you have to shift what your plans were. So does anybody have any questions? Thanks.
Thanks, Amanda. It's great to have you back in our meetings. Yay. All right. I guess next we've got Matt.
Hi, everyone. Matt Ockhummer, Community Liaison for the Liquor Board. Good to see some of your faces. A quick request tonight. I have had a lot of complaints about one establishment, 3927 East Lombard. That's formerly my cousin's place, now Ecstasis. And I just wanted to pop in to say if you have any similar complaints or concerns, please feel free to send them to me. Email or cell phone. I put them both in the chat, and I'll do that again. And yeah, don't hesitate to be in touch with any questions or concerns otherwise. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And I guess while we're soliciting that very specific feedback about Ecstasis on Lombard, any other concerns for the Liquor Board that you want to raise via the chat? And now would be a great time to do it since we've got Matt here in the meeting. Is that okay with you, Matt?
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything from Matt? Let's give it a few seconds for the chat. And after that, Vanessa, I was thinking we'd head to Delhi with Councilman McRae's office. All right, Matt, looks like radio silence on the chat. If you want to stick around, we'll see what comes up. Otherwise, thanks. And everyone take note of Matt's contact information. He's a great resource for the neighborhood and has done a lot of good work for us thus far.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I have one other question actually that popped up. So a neighbor was wondering if Free Baltimore is still planning to come around and plant trees this fall. I can check. I don't know if anybody here has any information on that. I think Ashley had said that they were planning on doing that, but I'm not sure, but I can check in with her. I don't know if anybody else has any information. I'll just throw it out there. If you do, shout it out. All right, and Amanda said Molly in her office might know, so I'll reach out to her as well. Oh, it seems to be unmuted. All right, Juan, you're unmuted.
I'm not sure if you can all hear me because I always have some audio challenges.
You've got two mics on right now.
All right, let's see. Is that better?
That's better. Yep.
All right, we'll do. So Vanessa and I, as she mentioned, we have some trash issues, working on Spanish and English documents. Some of the concerns that we've been hearing in our office has been around trash, particular dumpster. We got in contact with the owner. He was in Silver Springs, communicated with him in Spanish. Services are a little delayed, but we have location of Grundy and Eastern Avenue, if I'm not mistaken. A little bit of a parking lot. You know, it's a dumpster was being abused. The business had closed down due to the pandemic, but he is taking charge, and we understand that dumpster will be removed on Wednesday. notified our office that he'll put the dumpster back on when the business is open. So the education materials are in the works, Vanessa. I want you to know that. I heard from the marketing manager over at DPW. As far as there is a council bill that was being introduced for DPW employees to experiment or to go through a process of possibly getting an increase in hourly rate from $11 to $15 an hour. Hopefully that, the conditions that these employees are working will improve their performance. And so I just wanted to put that out. And another bill that was introduced with the Indigenous Peoples Day, which is the second week of October, that's going through third reader. And we'll still continue to work for our virtual learning so that way internet access is being again, access for the internet, the Chrome, and so our office is taking charge with that. I want to put that information.
Excellent, Juan. Thanks for the updates. Anything else you want to cover? Right on. Vanessa, do you have any other questions for Juan?
Nope, I don't. I think we're good.
Awesome. Let's move on to Deli. Deli, are you unmuted?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. My name is Deli. I'm from the 2nd District Council, which is Councilwoman McCrae's office. She apologizes that she can't be here tonight. She's currently at a council meeting, which has run a pretty overtime, very long tonight. But we have some announcements from our office. The first one is about the census. The census deadline is September 30th. Right now, Highlandtown has a 47% response rate, so let's try and see if we can get those numbers up. Our next update is that our office is currently assisting seniors, people with disabilities, and residents who cannot leave their homes or don't have transportation to dispose of their recycling. We're helping them transport their recycling to recycling centers. So if there are any 2nd District residents in the group that fall within those qualifications, please reach out to our office, and I'll leave our contact information in the chat. And our last update is that voting locations were released last week. The nearest voting location in Highlandtown is the Southeast Anchor Library. The Dropbox locations will be open by September 28th. Early voting will be from October 26th to November 2nd, and that will be daily from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Election Day is November 3rd from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So make sure you have a voting plan ready, make sure you request your ballot, register to vote, all of that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, or let me know if you have any questions. That's all for me.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. Cool. Quick question, Nick Frazone. I know we saw some helpful election information documents come out of Delegate Learman's office. Did she grant permission for us to post that information that Deli also just shared with us on the HCA website?
So she did, and I will send that to John, and then I will put it up on socials when it's up.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's super important. Regardless of what your beliefs are, it's important that you vote to make the world a better place based on what you believe in. So everyone vote like your life depends on it, because it might. Let's see. Brian, I know Brian Sweeney wanted to make a brief comment, and then we've got Shannon from the mayor's office who will go after Brian. So Brian, please jump in.
Very quickly, I meant to mention this earlier when I was discussing the trash task force. There has been some discussion about like ghost dumpers or something. There's a term that I heard this morning on the radio as far as trash disposal goes. Evidently, there are companies out there who are hiring people to take the trash that the city has found themselves unable to for a variety of reasons. And these ghost or rogue or whatever trash service providers are not necessarily taking these products to the, or these, this waste to the dump. They are often taking it into an alley and dumping it. So this has created an entirely new problem for DPW, who's already underwater for a variety of reasons. So to that end, I will ask that if anyone is considering hiring one of these contractors to take away any sort of trash, please ask them for some kind of a receipt. If you can't do that, or you don't feel that it's reasonable to do that, write your address on something that is being dumped. Write your address on it. If it winds up in an alley, you're going to get a phone call from Public Works. But you can easily say, hey, I hired so-and-so to take this away. This is really, really important, because you know, if somebody's taking things out of your house with the promise they're going to dispose of it properly, and they're just going to dump it in an alley and take your $50 or whatever it's going to be, they're doing everybody a disservice. So find some way to either mark your trash that's being hauled away, or ask them for a receipt or something, so that we can ensure that what's taken out of your house doesn't wind up in somebody else's alley. Secondly, that I also forgot to mention, these are really, really tough times for Public Works Department. They've had a lot of people who've not been able to come to work for COVID reasons, and the people who are coming to work for COVID reasons have been unable to be as productive as they might otherwise be, because now they're taking all sorts of safety precautions. So some patience is going to be in order, and I'm hugely frustrated with this trash problem. But you know, now is the time to maybe complain about things, but for us to expect quick results and a fast turnaround, this is simply not the time for that. I do want to thank Zeke's office and Juan for addressing the issue on Eastern and Grundy. I don't know that it's been picked up or not, but evidently we were on the path to get that taken care of. So good work to you guys. Thanks so much. But again, if you hire anybody to take your trash away, please, please, please do something to make sure that your stuff doesn't wind up in somebody else's alley. That's all I got. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And as indicated by BJ in the chat, she recommends you save any correspondence via email or other electronic means. So if code enforcement ends up approaching you like with a bag of your stuff or whatever that got dumped in an alley, you have some deniability. And with that, hey, Shannon, you want to jump in and give us all the news that's fit to print?
Hey, it's good to see everyone. I wanted to thank Brian for everything that he said about Department of Public Works. It has been a very trying summer, especially for them. They were, as Brian said, hit very hard by COVID. They actually had a staff member pass away from COVID. So it's been really tough. With that said, I live in the city. I live in Remington. I can completely sympathize with how hard the trash and recycling situation has been. We might not be able to get fast results, that is true, but we are tracking issues still. So if anyone has issues, please feel free to contact me. I can't promise that it'll be fixed the next day, but it does help if I have a list of things that I can refer back to that need to be fixed or need attention. I'll put my email in the chat. I also just wanted to remind you guys that there are community collection centers for recycling. The one in the 1st District is located at DPW Maritime Operations Facility, 3311 Eastbourne Avenue. They just extended hours on Tuesday and Thursdays, and the new hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's still 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I think that's all I have. Just remember, any issues, DOT, DPW, code enforcement, please reach out to me. I'm working from home, so I'm actually even more available than I normally would be because I'm checking things around the clock. So it's s.conway@baltimorecity.gov, but I'll also put it in the chat. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon. Really appreciate that. All right, so we've heard from Councilman Cohen's office. We've heard from Councilwoman McCrae's office. And we have heard from the office of mayor. Is there anyone else on the line from an elected official's office who wants to jump in? Looks like Brian wants to add a comment.
Yeah, very quickly. Shannon mentioned the recycling location. It's on a odd little street that it's maybe even a block long, if that. It's a street name that nobody is going to know. Shannon, I'm going to suggest that the location for that be designated as whatever block of South Clinton Street that is. It's about 5 blocks, 4 or 5 blocks south of Boston Street on South Clinton Street on the left. You can't turn right. It's a short 1 block, so it's not a street that anybody's going to know. But it's just south of Boston Street on Clinton Street, behind the Care First building, a few blocks back. And on the left-hand side, I dropped recycling off there this morning. Easy in, easy out, friendly staff, and all of that. But that street name is not going to mean anything to anyone. So Shannon, if you can suggest that maybe the address for that be changed from whatever street that happens to be, I've already forgotten it, to South Clinton and whatever at such and such 100 block. It'd probably be a lot easier for people to find. And that's what I got. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. All right. So cool. Looks like that made it. I'm checking the chat. Vanessa, I haven't been monitoring the chat very effectively. Have you seen anything pop up that we need to address presently?
No, I haven't. I think we're good.
Outstanding. Yep. All right. So to the best of my knowledge, we have engaged with all of our elected officials present. Our invited guests have spoken and the board has spoken. Amanda has told us about what's going on with events in the community. I wish Sharon were here to talk to us about a blood drive or something. But so I guess I'd like to open the floor to the community. Is anyone else present? If you can pop into the chat and let us know what you'd like to talk about, or otherwise unmute and kind of raise your hand. I'd like to take the next little bit and see if there are any, if there are any questions or concerns, any information anyone wants to share, now would be a great time for that. Kirk and Natalie suggest that you donate blood and donate plasma. Of course, that's always a good idea to help folks who need it. Does anyone want to add anything for the good of the order? Millie would like to talk about the basement bar tour. Please do. Do you need me to unmute you, or can you unmute yourself?
Nope, it's unmuted.
Outstanding. Thanks, Millie. Welcome.
Hi everybody. So as we know, we can't do a lot of fun things because of staying safe, CDC regulations and so forth. I was thinking of kind of piggybacking a little bit on the idea of what the First Fridays have done, where they've had minimal amount of in-person with a combination of pre-recorded or online virtual stuff. Just at the really beginning of planning on this and thinking about this, but just another way to kind of keep spirits up and keep community spirits going by offering potentially virtual tours of homes within the neighborhood. I know that Beth Ann has done some really amazing videos with how-tos on making cocktails, and just kind of throwing it out there that I'd like to do something along the lines of a home tour virtually, and then in the spirit of spirits, come December, something with our holiday lights, because I know that a lot of people do put up lights outside of the beautiful cafe lights that are going up everywhere. So just kind of throwing it out there that I'm willing to work on this if there's other people that have other ideas and more experience with it so far with the virtual. That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Millie. Looks like some folks in chat love that idea. Let's continue the conversation there. Got upcoming blood drive information in the chat. Thanks, Kirk and Natalie. Millie, comments there for you from Amanda. Nick Frazzone's going to put on the social media, however it works. All right, anyone else would like to reach out and share anything for the good of the order? All right, so it is 8:15. I am going to go ahead and call the meeting to an end 15 minutes ahead of schedule because it looks like that's where we are. I consider that a victory because I like efficient meetings. So thanks everyone for keeping it on point tonight. I would really appreciate your feedback. This is something we're trying to figure out, and I hope to represent the community effectively in these meetings, but your feedback will help me do a better job. So if you want to reach out to me via email regarding these meetings and what we can do better, or with suggestions for next time, please email highlandtown21224@gmail.com or nick.curley@gmail.com. I'd love your feedback. Suggestions are welcome. Again, I think we're going to be doing these virtual meetings for the foreseeable future, and certainly through the holidays of this year. In October's meeting, I would like to be able to present some video content, some pre-recorded video content. So if you feel like a project you're working on or something you'd like to do, or your office in the city government is capable of producing a brief, focused 2 to 3 minute long video to play in this format that can be information dense, I think it would just help make these meetings as productive and engaging as possible for folks who are looking for maximum information and minimum time investment. So to that end, again, I welcome your feedback. I welcome your content updates. I'll reach out to you, Vanessa and Nick, and I will reach out to you moving forward, but please feel free to send me anything that you think should be included in our next meeting. And I look forward to seeing you all then. One last call for open comments or questions. All right, everyone have a great night. Thanks for your time and attention.